Uganda and most especially the people of Luwero. We're going to learn about the demise of the former Attorney General and also former Minister of Justice, that is Apollo Kidu Makubuya, who breathed his last yesterday. Burial arrangements are still ongoing and we will know when he will be laid to rest. But what we know for sure is that he served his country with a steadfast heart. He gave so much to Uganda. And back in the day when our cabinet was smaller and members of parliament fewer, you would know, they would ask you, who is the Minister of Justice? And it was very easy to remember because he was one of the men that stood out in this country in the cabinet of Uganda. We'll remember him for the service that he gave to this country. We'll remember him for his play in so many matters national. He represented Uganda on the national and even international stage. And here from Good Morning Uganda, we say, may his soul rest in eternal peace. And we pray that the Lord strengthens his family in this hard time of losing a loved one. But now moving on, it is Good Morning Uganda, where we give you updates regarding so many news stories that have occurred in the last 24 hours. Now, I have Chantal Olive Akandinda in Studio B and Jerome Paul Sonko. But right next to me, right here in Studio A, I have Robert Chirabo Nyonyi Ntono, looking radiant and very smart. Good morning.
Good morning to you. I hope you're fine because you really look so jolly and juicy as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I must say, looking very gorgeous.
Very demure.
Now, well, we said on a sad note, the loss of Professor Honorable Kidu Makubuya, former Attorney General, but also he was the first Ugandan to get a first-class degree in law from Makerere University.
Wow.
He was very vital in the constitution that we are having today, that's the 1995 constitution, but also a professor of law. When you just go to start any law degree in Uganda, the core books they are going to ask you to buy are those written by this man. And one will ask if you are a student, or Kidu Makubuya, that book, that really, because he was very instrumental in issues of the law and of course lecturing. He has so many products when it comes to law. But also, on another sad but good news is that police was able to arrest finally Tabula Bosaruja. Now, this is the prime suspect behind the killing of Rukoma, or the head of the Ndiga clan in Uganda. He's been on the run for a very long time, and even police had put around 20 million for anyone who gives them information which can lead to his arrest. But we are happy that he was good, and we pray and hope that justice will prevail.
Indeed, and justice will prevail, because one thing I know for sure is that when it comes to matters like this, men in uniform always do a good job to bring the perpetrators to book. So it's good news that he was actually arrested. Now, going back to see, I was going to say season 2. I think going back to studio,
you've watched a number of them.
Many of them, I think it reminds me of 24 and Prison Break. But anyway, going to Studio B, Chantal Olive, how are you this morning?
Very well, thank you. How are you, Olive?
I am great. You look lovely.
Oh, thank you.
I won't use the word.
No, please do not.
But you're very mindful.
I'm very well. Yes, definitely I am mindful. It's in my nature.
Okay.
But that has to stop.
I had to.
Has to stop.
Anyway, a lot has happened between the last time on air yesterday and today. Is there any news story that stood out for you within the last 24 hours?
I'm only looking forward to, I'm looking forward to how the case is going to end. That is for the former and late head of the Ndiga clan, because if the prime suspect was captured, then let's see how this ends, and probably justice will be served in the right way possible. I'm really looking forward. I've looked forward to a day like this one, and I think it's a good thing we're headed in the right direction.
Okay, that's not a bad way to start the day. Obviously, we all want to see that justice is served. Jerome Paul, this morning, all in black. How are you?
I'm doing okay. And I've been following up, some of the updates that has been happening in the country. And yesterday, the President's office reshuffles of the RDCs and deputy RDCs is also some of those, is also part of the news that was really coming through, especially with the newly appointed, and then some were, given different assignments in there, and quite a number of, new appointments really, as well as reshuffles within the resident district commissioners and their deputies. From the Office of the President, a statement that was released yesterday, and names that were further released in the same space. Okay.
Now we get into the local news, and before we do that, yesterday the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, guided on the censure motion for the 4 backbench commissioners. But members of Parliament argue that this was outside the premise of Parliament because they want the censure motion on the order paper. We will know more about this story and we'll be bringing you updates. For now, Robert takes us through our first story for the day.
Well, I'll begin with the reshuffling and appointment of the resident district commissioners and city commissioners, plus commissioners at the Secretariat, where President Museveni, in exercising his powers conferred upon him as President of the Republic of Uganda by Article 99 and 203 of the 1995 Constitution, as amended, appointed persons as resident district, city commissioners and deputies and commissioners at the RDC Secretariat. However, among the several transfers and new appointments done, we look at major notables in the newly created cities and hosting districts. Asimwe Jane Muhindo is the RCC for Kampala. Catherine Kamwine is appointed Mbara City Resident District Commissioner, while Amina Rukanga takes on as RDC Mbara District. Hood Hussein is retained as RDC Masaka City, while Billy Janet Mulindwa as RDC Masaka District. Meanwhile, Asumini Nakisike is appointed RDC Mbale City, and George Wopua RDC Mbale District.
Well, should we say congratulations to the men and women that were appointed as RDCs and
Then
RCCs?
what will you say to those who are dropped?
Try next time.
These are not for trying.
Anyway, moving on in our news, mixed reactions have emerged after the Speaker of Parliament guided on the censure motion to remove the 4 backbench commissioners on allegations of corruption. The crusaders of the censure motion cite that the Speaker's guidance is outside the premises of the parliamentary chambers and so deemed as an opinion. The members of Parliament want the motion to appear on the order paper, maintaining that their grounds are different from the court ruling. On Friday, 16th August 2024, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, guided that the matter in relation to removing the commissioners has been ruled over by the High Court in the ruling of Daniel Bwete versus the Parliamentary Commission. The Speaker asked the members to respect the court ruling.
And moving on, police in Kampala Metropolitan have arrested at least 10 suspects in a crackdown against criminal gangs. The operation targeted hotspots areas of Machindye, Katwe, Ndeje, and Kasangati. Police is also pursuing 2 suspects for allegedly defrauding people. This intersecurity intelligence-led operation against criminal gangs in Kampala led to the arrest of some suspected thieves and recovery of so many stolen items. The operation started with the arrest and purported ringleader Gerard Rutaya, who led security to different hotspots to capture some of his accomplices. In other operation, Immigration Department, working with security agencies, arrested 6 foreign nationals for forging Ugandan passports. these had fraudulently acquired Ugandan names and family lineage.
Now moving on, members of Parliament have expressed their sorrow over the passing of former Attorney General Makubuya, honoring him as a brilliant legal mind and a significant contributor to Uganda's legal education. As a former Attorney General, the lawmakers say he was courageous enough to navigate challenging situations during his tenure. The late Makubuya will also be remembered for his substantial contributions to higher education institutions in Luwero district. Makubuya, who was battling heart-related issues, breathed his last at Nakasero Hospital, where he had been receiving treatment. Former Uganda Attorney General served from 2005 to 2011, and he passed on yesterday. Makubuya was battling heart-related issues, breathed his last yesterday morning at Nakasero Hospital, where he had been receiving treatment. At his home in Ntinda, Chigowa, a somber mood hung over the gathering of friends and family members as they came together to mourn his loss. And together with the family and friends, we mourn the loss of the former Attorney General of Uganda, and we say, may his soul rest in eternal peace. Now with that, we now go into the international news with Chantal Olive.
Internationally, just the next vaccines next week, and this is to address the global emergency. Now, Congo will receive the first vaccine doses to address the outbreak of Mpox next week from the United States. The country's health minister said yesterday, days after World Health Organization declared Mpox outbreaks in Africa a global emergency. Now, Mpox cases have been confirmed among children and adults in more than a dozen African countries, and a new form of the virus is spreading, and a few vaccine doses are available to the continent. Congo has the vast majority of the Mpox cases and currently needs 3 million vaccine doses. The US and Japan have offered to donate vaccines, Health Minister Roger Kamba told journalists. He did not say how many doses would be sent or when the ones from Japan would arrive. The World Health Organization has also reported over 17,000 Mpox cases and over 500 deaths worldwide in this year. Now, more than 96% of all the cases and deaths have been in Congo, whose health system has long struggled to contain disease outbreaks over the country's vast area and poor infrastructure. Now, children under 15 account for more than 70% of the cases and 85% of the deaths in Congo. Moving on, Kamala Harris took the stage for a surprise appearance at the first night of the DNC, and she addressed the crowd at the raucous applause, saying she wanted to kick off the convention by paying tribute to President Biden. She thanked him for his historic leadership and his lifelong service to the country. "We are forever grateful," she said. The crowd roared with excitement, chanting, "When we fight, we win," in response to Harris. Meanwhile, she holds a narrow lead over her Republican rival Donald Trump in the upcoming presidential election, according to a Washington Post ABC News Ipsos poll. The 4-point lead is a small but notable improvement for Democrats in the election race, a month after polls had shown then presidential nominee Joe Biden and Trump in a dead heat. Harris's progress marks a significant boost to the Democrats ahead of the national convention, which begins tonight. Harris will officially accept her nomination as the Democratic presidential nominee at the convention, while she stands at 49%. Trump is not so far behind at 45%, the survey shows. If third-party candidates are included, Harris is at 47%, Trump at 44%, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at 5%. And lastly, Libya's central bank says it has resumed operations following the release of a bank official who had been abducted from his home. CBL confirmed the release of Musab Muslam, head of the bank's information technology department, who was taken on Sunday by an unidentified party. It said Mr. Msalem had been taken from the capital, Tripoli, and that the other bank employees had been threatened with kidnapping too. CBL had halted all work, refusing to reopen until Msalem was freed. In a brief statement yesterday afternoon, the bank said it was back running as normal as Mr. Msalem had returned and was safe. The central bank, which is independent but owned by the Libyan state, is the only internationally recognized depository for Libyan oil revenues, a vital economic income for a country torn for years between two rival governments in Tripoli and Benghazi. Mr. Msalem's abduction comes a week after the central bank suffered a siege by armed men, according to news agencies. According to local media cited by AFP, the armed men did so to force the resignation of the bank's governor, Sadiq Al-Kabir. In office since 2012, Mr. Kabir has faced criticism over the management of oil resources and state budget. And that leads us to the end of our international stories this morning.
Now we cross over to the dailies in the press review with Jerome Paul.
According to the New Vision, the president has revealed that the Uganda National Roads Authority must go. And the president and members of parliament failed to agree on merger of coffee agency as well. And then the bigger question is this the end of FDC? Then crime. Ndiga clan leader, key murder suspect, has been arrested. And then the life and times of Kidu Makubuya. More of that is in the New Vision. Then the finance disbursed the 2023-2024 budget cash. Read about the disbursement of the just concluded financial year. As government recalls Maega and 3 others from the United Arab Emirates Embassy. More on that report is in the New Vision. Now, districts get new RDCs, RCCs and deputies. A list of some new reshuffles and the new faces in the resident district commissioners' offices countrywide. Then the Daily Monitor, FDC sees blues in plot to dissolve party. In between the lines is one Uganda, different interests. The party headquarters in Najanankumbi urges that the Katonga faction, which runs no rule over the secretariat, lacks locus to dissolve the party, and further questions its authenticity of the delegates and the legitimacy of yesterday's National Delegates Conference amidst unmet quorum. Now, Dr. Kidu Makubuya, a brilliant career that ended in controversy. Then read about the years of conflict in FDC, their leaders to death. And then police arrest key suspect in the Gaklan leader murder. Then RDC's shake-up gets a warm reception. Then in the Rainbow magazine, Tropical Nigeria holds colorful sports day. Then in the Daily Nation, Raila snubs Uhuru talks. The politics, the ODM cautions those plotting coup against Odinga to prepare for the consequences. Then University for the Rich, students slapped with hefty fees. A new report shows how the students were categorized in relation to enrolling in 2 different public universities. Then Kawira hopes winning streak will continue as trial starts. And then in security, Kenyan police in Haiti want more firepower. And in matters sport, I nearly gave up in life. A blind cyclist Uganda in pursuit of Paralympics glory shares his ordeal. Now, lastly, from our press review, we head to Tanzania with the Citizen. Justice at last as 4 gang rape. Justice at last as the 4 gang rape case suspects appear in court. There is a glimmer of hope, which has emerged as 4 suspects involved in the gang rape of a young woman from Yombo Dovia in Dar es Salaam made their court appearance yesterday. Now, cultural barriers prevent girls' education in coastal Tanzania. A new report has emerged as bus owners devise new strategy to boost business amid the SGR impact. As Tarimman appeals for justice as execution of 100 billion shillings ruling against Barrick Gold has also been delayed. Then in national business, weather challenges delay arrival of new Tanzanian aircraft. That does it for our press review this morning.
Now we will take a short break, and when we come back, we've been to school, all of us, and in some schools you will find that students are grouped or streamed according to their grades. Is this a good thing, or is it a detriment to their academic growth? That's the conversation we'll be delving into when we come back. But for now, Lanji by Caroline Nantongo featuring Levickson.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Now, yesterday, unfortunately, for people in Uganda and most especially the people of Luwero, we got to learn about the demise of the former Attorney General and also former Minister of Justice, that is Apollo Kidu Makubuya, who breathed his last yesterday. Burial arrangements are still ongoing, and we will know when he will be laid to rest. But what we know for sure is that he served his country with a steadfast heart. He gave so much to Uganda. And back in the day when our cabinet was smaller and members of parliament fewer, you would know, they would ask you, who is the Minister of Justice? And it was very easy to remember, because he was one of the men that stood out in this country in the cabinet of Uganda. We'll remember him for the service that he gave to this country. We'll remember him for his play in so many matters national. He represented Uganda on the national and even international stage. And here from Good Morning Uganda, we say, may his soul rest in eternal peace. And we pray that the Lord strengthens his family in this hard time of losing a loved one. But now moving on, it is Good Morning Uganda, where we give you updates regarding so many news stories that have occurred in the last 24 hours. Now, I have Chantal Olive Akandinda in Studio B and Jerome Paul Sonko. But right next to me, right here in Studio A, I have Robert Chirabo Nyonyi Ntono, looking radiant and very smart. Good morning.
Good morning to you. I hope you're fine, because you really look so jolly and juicy as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I must say, looking very gorgeous.
Very demure.
Now, well, we said on a sad note, the loss of Professor Honorable Chidu Makubuya, former Attorney General, but also he was the first Ugandan to get a first-class degree in law from Makerere University.
Wow.
He was very vital in the constitution that we are having today. That's the 1995 constitution, but also a professor of law. When you just go to start any law degree in Uganda, the core books they are going to ask you to buy are those written by this man. And one will ask if you are a student, or in Chidu Makubuya, that book, that really, because he was very instrumental in issues of the law and of course lecturing. He has so many products when it comes to law. But also, on another sad but good news, is that police was able to arrest finally Tabula Bosaruja. Now, this is the prime suspect behind the killing of Rukoma, or the head of the Ndiga clan in Uganda. He's been on the run for a very long time, and even police had put around 20 million for anyone who gives them information which can lead to his arrest. But we are happy that he was good, and we pray and hope that justice will prevail.
Indeed, and justice will prevail, because one thing I know for sure is that when it comes to matters like this, our men in uniform always do a good job to bring the perpetrators to book. So it's good news that he was actually arrested. Now, going back to see, I was going to say season 2.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by.
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo,
You can now get
Get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the Parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
So you have sent your child to school and probably they're struggling in one subject or another, or overall they are struggling. Now the school has this system where students are grouped or streamed according to grades. Unfortunately, your child may be among these students. Now, education experts are saying that this is wrong as it acts as a detriment to the detriment of the students that are what you would call quote-unquote slow learners. But some parents, like Chirabo right next to me here, are for the streams according to grades because he says the world is not fair to all. And of course, in Uganda, we have a saying that the fingers on one's hand are also not equal. So what you say, is this to the detriment of the students, or it is actually a good thing that can enable them to work harder so that they can join the streams that have smarter students? This is the conversation we are having. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, right with Chirabo Robert Nyonyitono, and in Studio B I have Chantal Olive Akaninda and Jerome Paul Sonko. And I would like to start with Mr. Sonko, since among the four of us, I think he's the one that has recently been in school. Good morning once again, Mr. Sonko.
Good morning to you.
Were you in stream U for slow learners or stream A for the best?
No, I've been fortunate enough not to be in a stream of what they call the slow learners. I was always in the stream for the best performers. Usually, in the high schools I went to, they were grading. They were using 4 grading systems: North, East, West, and South.
Yes.
Now the chances were high that if you were, because the wise men, just like in the Bible, the wise men came from the East. So if you're put into stream East, chances are you belong to the category of the best performers. And then if you are streamed into, let's say, South and North, chances are, in fact, it was South and North, chances are very high that you're amongst those who are not performing according to the standards that the school has set. And then when it goes to schools where you are studying in, where the schools were streaming students in only 2 parts, that is, let's say, East and West. Obviously, East was for the bright students. And, well, I got the chance to be streamed in West. That was in Form 2. Now in Form 2, they would just draft anyhowly. And that is where now they started choosing that if you perform well in Form 3, they throw you into the basket of the Easterners or the brighter class. And this has been the way most of the schools are doing things for the past decade or so. Because they believe that if a student, let's say in Form 1, they will just throw you in streams just to see your capabilities. Now in Form 2, they start assessing. Now once they start assessing, they realize that they need to have a bunch of, let's say, the ones that will bring the better grades to study alone, and then the bunch of those who are, I wouldn't say the worst performers, or those who are slow learners. Well, okay, the worst performers, according to the grading system, which is also changing lately, would be streamed in West. Now,
but now, Durham, with your experience and the debate among the educational, the consultants and also experts, but given that you've gone through this experience, fortunately, you were a good performer or a higher performer, but do you think that this system, based on where you went to school and other schools that you know are practicing the same, what's your say? Do you think it is to the detriment of the lower performing students, or it actually helps them to work harder and focus and aim higher?
It goes both ways, because at times you do realize that if you have a class that has students who are performing at the same level, let's say those who are performing, you know, who are performing well, they're having the 90s, the 80s, the D1s and D2s, and you want them to study alone, the chance is these ones will perform so well because they will have that competition. Now, there is a chance that the ones that are performing less or are having less performance at the end of it all, there are chances that they may either lose the morale of competing or even feel more relaxed that anyway, now we are all the same. We are in this class, we can all perform the way we are performing and no one is bothered or the school is bothered. But now when it comes to the mental health of these students, this is where the worry is.
Yes.
Because remember, if you've been streamed or graded in that way, first of all, as a young child, you will lose it. You will feel like the school has clearly shown that you are a less performer or you have no brighter future at the end of the day. Because when you get to interact with many of these students, some of them don't even want to share that they belong to a certain stream. True. Because they will definitely know, or you as the person asking will definitely know that anyway, maybe this particular student, more so if you know the grading system of the school.
So what you're saying is that even away from the mental health, it is affecting their self-esteem.
Exactly, it is affecting them because others may be able to pick up from there and try to perform as much. Like I've shared, for example, in our grading system in my O-level was in Form 2, because in Form 1, if you perform well, they would throw you into a new stream, that is in Form 2. Yeah. Now in Form 2, I realized that I was in a stream that was dubbed as a stream for the worst performers. So I had to push myself
to swim to the
so as to be pushed to the eastern stream. Meaning there are those students who will wish to continue studying so as to be thrown into a stream that they know is for the bright students.
So they have to swim against the current.
Exactly. And then there are those who lose it and they're like, hey, it seems the school doesn't even, wish us well. So the school thinks we cannot perform accordingly. That is why we are in this particular group.
Okay, I understand. And that's a very interesting perspective. Now, I would like to get the view from Chantal. What is your initial reaction when you hear that students are graded or are streamed according to their grades?
I would first of all go back down to the reasons as to why we are seeing these students being streamed. Initially, the reason as to why these streams were created, the very first reason was because some schools had a lot of students in a particular class.
That's right.
So they had to be divided into different streams to enable easier teaching, making work for the easy for the teacher, but also making it easier for the student to be able to pick, since they will not be in a class that is probably so big. So that is the first reason as to why the streams were created. Then now we got to a level where these students were being graded per stream. So I am 50-50. And I was reading a report about even schools in Malaysia. Now, Malaysia is a developed country. They are also still debating on the effectiveness of streaming now. A study that was done.
Let me interject a bit. Malaysia is not only a developed country, but it's one of the countries that produce some of the brightest students.
And they're employing the streaming system.
According to grades, still.
Yes, they're employing the streaming system. Of course, there are debates in that country on whether it's achieving results. So there was a study that was conducted. They picked 10 teachers and 10 students. And still it will give you results that are 50-50. And it goes back down to how you choose to look at it. And that is why I will say I am still 50-50, because it has its disadvantages and its advantages. First of all, if you do not understand why this student is performing the way they are performing, and you just throw them in a stream, you're probably making the situation worse for them, because right now all they can think about is, I probably have all these issues happening back at home, and now even at school I'm being thrown in the stream for worst performers. So we need to get down to the reason as to why this student is performing the way they are performing before we stream them according to the grades. But on the brighter side, there are students who have managed to push themselves out of their comfort zones because, one, their parent says you cannot afford to be in stream south. You have to be in west or east. And this child has to pull up their socks. Then there is a child who also knows that, listen, I cannot be having my cousin, my brother in stream east and I'm in south, and they have to pull up their socks. So depending on where this child stands emotionally and mentally, this system can be good for them. But if it lands on a student who is already affected emotionally and psychologically, then there might be a problem when it comes to adjusting or pulling themselves out of this system to be able to beat it.
Now, in your submission, there is a point where you said to get out of their comfort zone. So what would you say to someone who actually says students have different learning abilities? There are students who are dyslexic, meaning they're not learning at the same pace as other students. Now, if you put them in a stream where their counterparts are also slow due to different reasons, are you doing them a service or a disservice?
The point where we do these students a disservice is when we group them as, say, I'm going to just use the word, as slow learners.
Yes.
Even the teachers take them as slow learners instead of actually putting emphasis on helping them get out of that, on helping them understand why they are learning not as fast as the other students. That is where the teachers make the mistake, or that is where even every one of us makes a mistake, because when you find a child in South, that one is slow.
So you're saying that the teachers would not even put in so much work?
Most of them do not try to help these students to remove them from this stream to another one, because probably they'll ask themselves who's going to stay in this stream. You get it? They are labeled and left there because that's what they've been perceived to be. A little to no effort is put in to develop these kids to understand why they are like that, to be able to help them to do better. They're just left there. Oh, you're what? Literally, that's the mindset.
All right, I'll get back to you, Chantal. Now, I would like to hear your view, Mr. Nyonyintono, because in the beginning you did whisper that if the real world is not the same, it is competitive out there, the aggressive ones are the ones who get the cake. So do you personally believe, or would you be comfortable if your child was put in a stream that is dubbed for the slow learners? Would that be okay with you as a parent?
It would be okay with me. One, we've come to a generation where we want to tell children and let people believe that things come on a silver platter. This world is competitive. This world is all about being aggressive. It's about positioning yourself in the line of opportunity. And remember, schools train people for the real world. Now, I happened to be in two schools where we had the streaming. In my primary, we had that. You'd come from lower school, which was in Nakasero, then you're going to upper. Now lower, they would just place you, you're coming in P1, P2. Then your performance in P2 would determine when you're crossing over to upper school, which stream you go to. In my secondary school also, we had the same, like Sonko said. when you come in senior 1, you all senior 2 determines which stream you go to. And East was for the wise men. But you see, some of these things have just been abused. Chantal mentioned one of the reasons why we brought in streaming. Now, initially, educators, the like of Mukasa Rusambu, those that have been in the education system, why they brought in this, they noticed that, to be honest, all these children cannot grasp at the same time. Let's have them streamed, and these that are slow learners be given more attention. Like in some schools where parents go pay for coaching. You see, something good, when abused, does not make it bad, isn't it?
So are you saying that in the beginning,
the main intention was
the streaming was not to manage numbers? Because there was a time when you'd have like 300 students
numbers were
in
also
one
part
class.
of it.
Okay.
But you'll also believe with me is that still you'll go to schools that have streams and the numbers are huge.
Yes.
The teacher-student ratio, but still the streaming is there. If the intention was to concentrate more on numbers, then maybe we would say that at least a class have 50-50 in terms of manageability. But now this went to say, I know these are slow learners. The attention given, how you address them, because as a teacher, your mandate is to get the very best out of every child.
Yes.
Now, knowing that these are slow learners, it was meant that you give them extra attention. I know of schools where they don't have streams, but the school administration has coaching. Leave on this coaching of paying a teacher. This one is policy. So that these ones are given an extra time, an extra hand to see that they catch up with the rest. Because at the end of the day, if you have your first grades these, but then you have these other poor performances, still it doesn't go well with the school. But the problem came when this was abused. Two, I go back to the real world. When I was in my senior 1, a certain school, no, actually, when I was in primary, I never went to East. No, I never went to East. P1 I was very good, P2 a bit of, then I ended up in upper school. That was even Nakasero Primary School. I don't know if that system is still there. Now I go to upper and I'm told you've landed in this stream. I learned that and I said, well, now here I am. But the very good thing there was that sometimes in that stream of ours, we'd even have 2 teachers.
Which stream were you in again? Was it for the slow learners or was it for the brilliant ones?
For the slow learners.
Okay.
In my primary. I'm not going to act like teachers. You know, every teacher says I
was
scored
bright.
first grade and or I was the bright one.
Never mind that some that failed senior 4.
Yeah, then you want to ask them. Then you want to ask them. So what happens? When I got in this stream, I saw we had 2 teachers, where the other streams would have 1 teacher. But this is the good news. When it came to P7, and these are facts, I speak of a school that is just direct here.
Yes.
The way we walloped people who were in East. We had 5, we had 4s, and some in East were in 7, 13.
And you had what?
And I had my 5.
Anyway, the attention is not on that.
That caught up with me. When I went to, listen to this. When I went to O level, I said I'm not going to be part of this nonsense again. I must be in East. And I worked so hard and I went in East. So it is a motivator. It teaches this child, one, if the school knows the value of this streaming, and these children have told you, the Easterners usually had 1 teacher, I think Serwani Kwan, Madam Namukasa. But for us, we had 2 teachers. We had one who would be at the back and one in front. Okay,
now Robert, based on that, you did mention that if the school understands the value of streaming according to grades. Because for me, from what the experts are saying, is that it's being abused, where like our colleagues Chantal and Joram have mentioned, some of these students will be put in this stream and that's it. Let's say from senior 1 to senior 4, and they never get to move. And
the most worrying bit here is the most worrying bit here is that the schools are over-focusing on the grades here.
And Joram, as you mentioned that, I wanted to come to you. Do you think that the fact the factor of privatization of the education system is also affecting us, where schools are now mainly looking at who will pass and give us, let's say, first grades, so that we can now get many other students to come in, maybe to join in senior 1 or in senior 5, that they are now very intense on grading children, on streaming children according to grades, and not catering to their individual needs as they learn.
Well, it is affecting us to some percentage, which is now a greater percentage. And because these schools want to have the best grades, because it's a marketing thing here.
Yes.
That if you are a school that is having students having the better grades every other year, or having more first grades, or having, let's say, 4 aggregates of many students coming up with 4 aggregates. If it's high school, students coming up with 18 8s, 18 10, you are the school that every parent would wish to have their, their students study. So this is where we are, and many of these schools are focusing on the grading. And the most worrying bit is that even in public schools, because remember, the number of students in public schools or government-aided schools is also one of the reasons as to why they normally break, they break the streams here, and they try to throw students in different streams. But again, as the students are moving in a new class, you do realize that according to the performance, schools will again restream and try to make some reshuffles or changes depending on the students and how they perform, which is now the most worrying thing. Meaning that as much as we are now shifting to a new curriculum, which is, by the way, going to solve a lot of things, especially this particular issue, is that when you look at the old curriculum, many of the schools have been focusing on the grades, because the only way you're going to stream a student is basing on how they perform. Meaning you've not paid attention to how do they associate with their fellow students. You do realize that maybe some students pick up from, from fellow students. If at all he's studying with students in the same environment, they will help this particular student to progress. He may not perform so well when it comes to the examinations, but he's picking up different things and developing in various aspects of life. So I think with this grading system, or rather with this issue of streaming, the biggest worry it is, putting on our education system is that we are more grade-centered when it comes to the education system. That we focus more on how a child performs in a specific test or an exam than their assessment of how they've progressed since they joined school.
Over the years. And that's where the new curriculum comes in, because unlike in the past, now they look at someone's performance from senior 1 up until senior 4. So mainly UNEB will look at their senior 3 results and then their senior 4, and that put together will now give the final grading. The first exams for the new curriculum are being sat this year, and from there we will know whether it was a miss or it was a gain, because it is the first, this is the senior 4 candidates currently are the first ones that are going to sit the exams under the new curriculum of O-level. Now, Chantal, there is also this aspect of schools cutting off, for lack of a better word, some students at some point. Let's say they're in senior 3 and they have an average of aggregates a student must have. Failure to get these, they advise you to look for another school.
Try your talents
for another school in senior 4. But this student has been in this school for, let's say, 6 years if they're in P7, maybe 7 years if they're in P7, 6 years, and now they are being cut off in P7. Or they've been in this school for 3 years, now going to senior 4, they're like, you know what? Because of this grading, you're supposed to try elsewhere. So who is to blame here? Is it the student that is underperforming, or the school that has not done enough to help the student excel?
I would take it down to each and every party involved, the student, the teacher, and the parent. And here is why. One, as a school, say I'm a school proprietor, I have set my standards for my school because of what I aim for. I aim to produce the best results. So if after assessment, I'm not getting the best results, if I find fit that this child cannot continue and give us bad results at the end of it all, I'm most probably going to tell them to try elsewhere. But then again, when we talk...
try where? You had this child for 3 years. 6 years.
I'm speaking as I'm speaking from the mind of a school owner or the proprietor or even the headmaster or something. These are rules that are put in place or guidelines that are put in place or systems put in place to run these schools. And to be honest, no internal individual, unless if it's maybe government intervention, no internal individual can determine how I choose to run my school. Right? But then again, when it comes to a teacher, now a teacher is supposed to be different. A teacher, you're in that profession because you are passionate about this, about skilling, about educating, about getting the best out of this child or this student. Now, as a teacher, what role have you played in ensuring that this child performs better than they're being looked at, especially now that we are talking about schools? The truth is we are majorly looking at grading, but when you try to look up the alternative meaning of streaming, it is actually it's called ability grouping. Now when we talk about ability, it goes way more than the ability to cram and put things on paper. Now that's the part that probably was not understood about streaming and even cutting off students from schools.
The part that has been abused.
Yes. Now then when it comes to the parents, you need, parents, especially one of these days, we need to be more deliberate and more concerned with our children's education. Most parents take these kids to school and say, let the teachers do their part. Then they have a pep talk with their child and say, you go and fail if you want, especially the Banyankole parents, you go and fail if you want, but don't bring bad grades home, you get. So this parent is not even bothered. The report comes and it says, why did you fail? I don't pay school fees. Don't I give you pocket money? Don't I take you to school on time? Why are you failing? Instead of understanding the reasons as to why this child, and in a better way, is not performing as they should. So all the parties in here are to blame, or they should be concerned with the issue. As a school, as a headmaster, even you should be involved in some of these children's lives to make sure that before they're even thrown out of the school, they shouldn't be. But it's a rule that was put in school. We don't have control. But couldn't we have done it in a much better way? I personally went through the hands of two headmasters that were really deliberate. We had a headmaster in primary called, I think he was called Mr. Isagara at City Parents, that he was so personal with the students. And even when you'd go to his office, he was receptive. But how many headmasters have even the time to be personal with the students and understand how
you're looking at schools. I remember when my son was in P7, his class was 450 students, but of course in the streams, each stream had between 40 to 45 students. Now that's one class. That population in some schools is the entire school, but in some schools it is one class. Right. So could we probably cut the headmasters some slack, because they've hired teachers. Each class has at least 2 class teachers, and these people should be deliberate with the students. Let me bring this to the work setting. You have you have an immediate supervisor, and then you have the HR, right? So there's the HR manual you're supposed to be following. But if your immediate supervisor really cares for you and your personal growth and the value you're adding to the company or the organization, when the HR says, I think this person isn't giving us good results, your supervisor should be in position to say, listen, let's give them a try. I think this is their challenge. It can be handled like this. We can get better results if we take this direction. So if the headmaster is implementing what was given to him as a manual to lead this school, then what is the teacher doing to facilitate the decision being made by the head teacher or even the school rules to throw this child out? Well, thank you, Chantal, and I will take as your parting shot. Now, I'll take that as your parting shot as I go to Robert. Robert, as we close, you were first of all shaking your head vigorously. I don't know whether it was in disagreement or in agreement with Chantal when it comes to students being cut off at a certain point when they are going to candidate classes.
I will again reiterate my words that school is meant to prepare us for the real world. And the real world, things are not on a silver platter. You push and push until you get where you're supposed to be. Even when getting jobs, we do interviews. They will look for who performs best. Now, in everything, this is what it is. I've seen schools where you get in senior one and you know there's an average, there's a cutoff point. So you have to strive. I like Chantal's conclusion. He said the parents, the teachers, and the students have a role to play. Now, both these three parties, let each perfect. If I own a school and I bring in 120 senior ones,
yes,
and I tell them at the end of the day, average is 50. Brother, father, son, or father, daughter, let my teachers give the best. Have that average 50. This will motivate even this child to have come to study.
Because even when you sit an exam paper, it is graded against a certain number.
Yes. For us, we used to call it the axe.
Yes.
You know, you enter senior, the headmaster even tells you on the first parade, senior ones, you've come here, you're many number. At the end of the year, some of you will stay with us, some of you will go.
So, Robert, what do you say? I would like to pick your mind on the ploy that is allegedly done by some schools where they will admit as many as, let's say, 500 senior ones. But along the way, they are going to release them, but not into the world, but to another school that probably they work with. That sometimes they know from the beginning, we do not need this student, but they take them on. Is that fair?
It is the student now to work hard and see that, yes, I'm among those that remain. Because if the school admits 300, but you know, you must have this average.
And you know you entered at 13 probably because your parents.
Because your parents
did something.
And I'm happy for this system.
Yes.
I've seen in some schools where they tell you King's College, Sunsas, St. Mary's, Chitende, the school, this is the entry
Robert.
point, you know? And now what happens, they deliberately know that Chirabo, you know the HM, but let your child prove his worth. If they don't prove their worth, definitely they will go. So this is preparing these children. You know, this world of rights, equality, there is a way of bringing up children that things...
What are you trying to say?
No, this
we should not
system,
know about rights and equality?
No, we must bring an aggressive child. Know that you must ensure you make it. And the school prepares us, streaming, I mean, for it, the acts or cut-off points, I mean, for it, because I've seen them inspire children to say, I will not be in this stream. Let me read that. I've seen them inspire children to say, I will not be axed. I must get that average and above.
Okay, thank you, Robert. And for personally, in my perspective, the streaming bit, if not abused, would work well. Unfortunately, in some schools, it has actually been abused and it has ignored the individual needs of some students because learning abilities are not the same. We do not learn at the same level. That's why I could get a 90 in English and I'm getting a 30 in mathematics. Now, if you make me come off as a low learner or a slow learner because I cannot do well in mathematics, probably my brains are not made for that. But I need your help. Instead of being put in the slow learner's grade. Robert,
do you know what to say? Our
we've run out of time.
You are advised to try your talents elsewhere. You have the talents, but they're not the talent. They don't meet the mark.
I certainly disagree with you, but we will agree to disagree. You're still watching Good Morning Uganda. Now coming up next is Irene Allen Namisango with the Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. And from what I can see in the studio, we have some amazingly beautiful young women that she has brought for us. What do they stand for? You will know when you stick around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah,
can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja Ankole segment. Learn about the fabrication of Ankole Kingdom from Nkore at the detriment of Mpororo states. What is the glue that holds together peoples of the beautiful village of milk and honey?
Ankole as a kingdom came about in 1901.
Ankole is a colonial fabrication.
And all these so small kingdoms were counties of the original Itara.
Ruhinda Ruanjunachi,
the son of Wamara Ranja Ruhabwera,
who was a Mchwezi.
There are times when we were Pamoja, the same people.
Tuko Pamoja? Catch this in Ishaka Bushenyi at Berlin Hotel on Saturday, 31st August, and in Barra at Las Vegas Garden Hotel on Sunday, 1st September 2024. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the Parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
A very good morning to all our viewers. Thank you so much for sticking around and keeping it UBC this morning, for letting us to start the day with you with beautiful stories, inspiring you through the day, giving you all the updates that you would need to know, and the stories that will keep you going through the day, giving you everything that you need to know about Uganda. And now, this is the GME Tourism Express, where we give you all the updates about Uganda's tourism and everything that is happening in the world of travel in Uganda and beyond. My name is Irene Alenamisang, and with me in the studios today, I have guests, beautiful queens, beautiful tourism queens from southwestern Uganda. Now, southwestern Uganda, I should say that it is like the cash cow of Uganda's tourism, because almost every beauty that we pride about in Uganda dwells in southwestern Uganda. Yes, of course, there are also other beautiful things in other regions, but southwestern Uganda really stands out because it is a home to very many unique things. And today, with the tourism queens from southwestern Uganda, we are going to share more, talk more about tourism and community development. How is tourism really bringing on community development in the southwestern region of the country? When we talk about the southwestern region of the country, we are talking about districts like Kabale, Kanungu, Kisoro, and so many, Rukonjiri, and so many other districts that dwell in that region. And I should really say, pride in that the southwestern part of the country is amazing, just like we are going to share. With me in the studios, I'm with Miss Tourism Southwest 2024-2025, Miss Hope, or Queen Hope Tukam Shaba, and the second runners-up, Miss Tourism Southwestern Uganda, Queen Rachel at Uhaire, and they are going to share with us what they have today. Queen Rachel,
yes,
we are glad to have you here.
Pleasure is mine.
How is the morning?
It's really colorful.
Oh, that is nice. How is Queen Hope this morning?
She's okay.
Oh.
I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, that is nice. Just to go straight into the topic today, Queen Rachel, tell us the unique things that make Southwestern region stand out from other regions. Why would I come to Southwestern region other than going to maybe to the eastern part of the country or going to the northern part of the country? Why Southwestern Uganda?
Thank you. In the southwest, we have gorillas. It's one of the major tourist attractions there. And not only gorillas, but endangered mountain gorillas.
Yeah.
They have really attracted tourists because of their beauty.
Okay.
And being in the mountain, because the southwest is made of hills. We have a lot of hills there, beautiful hills.
Okay.
We've got golden monkeys
yeah.
in Mugahinga National Park, and it is located in Kisoro District, southwest. This is where gold meets silver.
True.
Most people might be wondering, why is it called a place where gold meets silver? The golden monkeys, that defines itself. And also the gorillas, when they're growing, they develop silver on their backs.
Yeah.
So we call them the silver-backed gorillas
yeah.
in Chigezi. We also have the first deepest lake in Uganda,
yeah.
and that is Lake Bunyonyi.
Wow.
A lot of beautiful attractions in the southwest, but through tourism, you can explore more in the southwest and get to know a lot of tourist attractions.
Okay, that is nice. Queen Hope, we need to know, we need to understand, how do you think tourism is really promoting community development in your region?
Okay, thank you so much. Tourism, it's I think it's one of the sectors that really brings in money like a lot. And if a place is well developed in terms of tourism, the local development is going to rise. How there are very many places, let's say like in our region, in the southwestern region, there is Lake Bunyonyi. Most of the people, number one, most of the people can do fishing from that lake, okay. And that's already an employment opportunity. Some people get to buy the fish, of course, and then obviously there's some people who are really interested in moving, like to see what's all about Lake Bunyonyi. So there is that section where people are really interested and they want to know what's happening in Southwestern. Now, like you've heard about Lake Bunyonyi, they want to go and explore. And in that way of exploring, of course, let's say like the roads are bad, the roads are going to be worked on. And then people are also planning on doing their things that are going to help them in sustaining their lives, the local development is going to rise.
Okay. Okay. Rachel, do you think there are also other ways that tourism has led to community development in your region?
Yeah, true. Through tourism, accommodation facilities have really been improved. People in the southwest have got employment opportunities. The local people, especially through tourism, most of them have jobs. Through tourism, most of them have improved their skills, whereby they produce local products like baskets, and they are able to sell them to the tourists where they earn money for a living. Yeah.
Okay, that is nice, because when you look at tourism and community development, we need to see how is tourism really bringing on development to the local communities. How are people benefiting? How are they earning? Are their standards of living really improving? But as we've heard that there are several employment opportunities that come with tourism and also earning opportunities, maybe Rachel, tell us some of the challenges that you think that are coming with, or that your region is facing because it is leveraging on tourism for development.
Some of the local people in the southwest lack skills, yet they would love to engage in tourism. However, I would urge the government to at least construct schools in the southwest so that people are able to go for training and attain skills.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also I would urge the ministry to also help my people. Already the ministry is doing a great work, by the way. Yeah, Ministry of Tourism is really doing a great work. Yeah.
Okay. Then, do you think there are also other challenges that your region is facing in terms of tourism?
Yeah, I think infrastructure development, it's a challenge. Like the roads are really not good, and it hinders the development of the region because there is no way someone is going to sell out their products when the roads are really bad. It's a very big challenge. And also skills, as said. Some people lack skills, and I wish that maybe there could be some projects that could empower maybe like the women so that they get more skills and then they get a way of surviving. Yes.
When you talk about projects that could maybe empower women, aren't there scenarios or examples, live examples, where your community people have really benefited or directly benefited into the tourism sector? Maybe projects that are running in the tourism sector in your region, maybe hotels that are directly employing local people, anything. Give us some live examples in your community.
There are I'll talk about hotels. There's an example of Bird Nest. It's in Lake Bunyonyi. Number one, it gives people, it acts as a market for the fish that has been got from Lake Bunyonyi. So the fishermen and all that, they're going to get a place where they can sell their stuff. And then there is also, they will employ people because they need people to work maybe in the kitchen and all that. So it has really helped the people. Then there's also crafts making. I think when you go to Lake Bunyonyi still, most of the people are depending on that crafts making. They weave baskets, and then when the tourists go to visit Lake Bunyonyi, they can buy, and then they buy like at a very high price. And I feel like it's an income generating thing.
Okay, just one last question in 1 minute, each of you. I hope, what inspired you to stand out to be a tourism ambassador?
Oh, thank you so much for the question. Number one, it started from passion. I was really passionate about tourism, but still I wanted to act as a voice, and I wanted to show the unique features of our region. I want people to know all about our region. I want to create cultural diversity so that I get to explore more about other regions, then the other regions can also get to know more about our region.
Okay,
yes.
That is nice.
Thank you.
Rachel, what inspired you?
First of all, it started with me. I really love to go for it so that I improve a lot of things in my region. For example, I wanted to concentrate on the Leather Pearl Shine project so that my region is clean. When the tourists come in, do not only see the beauty of the Southwest, but also the cleanliness. And I urge my people in the Southwest not to litter. Keep the Southwestern regions clean, that is Kabale, Kanungu, Rukunjiri, Kisoro, Rwanda and Ruchiga districts.
Okay. I hope in case you miss tourism in Uganda, what do you think you're going to change that other queens have not done?
Thank you so much for the question. I'm focusing on discovering the hidden gems, the hidden places that could actually be used, the hidden tourist attractions.
Okay, just there. What do you think that is hidden in the southwestern region that people don't know?
In the southwestern region, there's a certain cave. There's a certain cave. It's called Nyakajara Cave. It's hidden. It's in a very deep place. And what I love most about it, it's the fact that it has salty walls. It has salty walls. And way back, people used it as a home. And I feel like if the place is well developed, it could really be a big deal for the people who are around it.
How do you think you're going to bring on development in that cave?
In that cave, number one, I have to first make the people know about the cave. Then it starts with publicizing. When people get to know about it, then maybe we could get a way of fixing it, trying to clear the place, clearing the road, and yeah.
Oh, well, I could love to really go on with this conversation just to know more about southwestern Uganda, but also to know the minds of the tourism queens when it gets to terms of tourism. But unfortunately, because of time, I'll have to stop here because we are limited with time, but it is nice to get to understand the minds of these young tourism queens when it gets to tourism. Like I always say that tourism is a people industry, and when you look at the tourism sector in Uganda, I should say that it is currently run by the young blood, by the youths. And when we see different young people coming up to promote Uganda's tourism, passionately talk about tourism, the beauty, just like you've seen the queens talking about southwestern Uganda, it is amazing. And I believe with all these efforts, we are going to position Uganda as a universally acceptable tourism destination. But where we also need to understand that when tourism comes into the country, or when we focus a lot on the tourism sector, also community development comes along. There is a lot of development that comes along with the tourism sector. Talk about investment, talk about hotels and accommodation, talk about employment opportunities. You cannot imagine. I think early this year on Labor Day, about 67% of the youths were employed in the tourism sector. So you see, like there is a lot of opportunities and development that are coming in with the tourism sector, or developing with the tourism sector. So please, if there is anything that you can do to add a brick to build Uganda's tourism sector, please let us do this to see that together we put Uganda or our Pearl of Africa up there, that it is a desirable destination. And don't forget that we are still voting Uganda in the Wanderlust Reader Travel Awards as the most desirable or desired country in the world. So if you need the link, go to the pages of Uganda Tourism Board. You will get the link, share it to so many people so that we vote Uganda to take this award as the most desired country in the whole world. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Irene Alena Misango, and catch you tomorrow.
Now, starting it off, we start with women enterprises in the country, because 8 women-owned businesses have received contracts. Now, these contracts are worth 1.6 billion Ugandan shillings as part of the Advancing Women Entrepreneurship Initiative launched by the MTN Uganda in partnership with ATC Uganda recently. This is a program which is aiming at empowering women to take more significant roles in the telecom sector, pretty much also focusing on public relations and communications. The initiative, spearheaded by MTN, further seeks to increase women's participation in its supply chain by providing business opportunities, building partnerships, and enhancing business capacity. Now, ATC Uganda is a tower construction firm which took on a leading role in the initiative, offering contracts for engineering projects such as solar installations and fiber to the tower installations. Now, they further believe that their supply ecosystem should reflect the face of the society, and that is why they came out to award women-led businesses these particular contracts. Now, the selected women underwent extensive training to equip them for the technical demands of their roles, particularly in solar installations at ATC Uganda sites. This training ensures that they are all well prepared to excel in traditionally male-dominated fields. Now, speaking of traditionally male-dominated fields, at the end of it all, you do realize that many of the women, especially those who are doing science-related programs at various institutes and universities, still lack the opportunities to work in the employment sector. Now, as residents of Kira in Uganda continue to critique the power supplier, Umeme, over the continuous blackouts in the country, especially the most recent one over the weekend, it does seem like Umeme posts slight profit decline as the revenues further rise, according to new developments coming in from Uganda's energy sector. Now, the listed power distributor, Umeme Limited, reported a 1.61% decline. This is in profit after tax to 12.9 billion Ugandan shillings in the 6 months, which came to an end June 2023 from 13.2 billion in the corresponding period of last year as of June 2023. Now, Umeme's total revenues increased by 7.08% to 1.5 trillion Ugandan shillings from 1.08 trillion Ugandan shillings in the first half of 2023. Now, this was driven by a 10.87% rise in electricity sales to about 1.12 trillion from 1.01 trillion shillings, according to its earnings report. Now, however, when you look at the operating costs, these particular ones jumped by 25.68% to about 141.2 billion shillings. That is up from 112.3 billion, primarily due to a significant increase in repairs and the maintenance expenses. Now, this particular one rose from 218.04% to 34.6 billion Ugandan shillings. That is up from 10.8 billion shillings. And besides that, profit after tax remained at the same level. That is at 13 billion Ugandan shillings as of 2023, if you are to look at the same period ended June 2024. Now, lastly, from our details from business this very morning, we head to Rwanda because President Paul Kagame, who is the new president of Rwanda in relation to the just concluded elections in the country, has come out to propose a new move that seeks to tax the Pentecostal churches within the country. Now, the president considered tax on church collections to combat exploitative practices. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has proposed introducing a tax on church collections as part of a broader crackdown on exploitative practices by some evangelical preachers. Now, in his first address after taking a new oath of office, the Rwandan president strongly criticized church leaders who masquerade under the cover of God to manipulate and squeeze money from people. Now, these unscrupulous people who use religion and churches to manipulate and fleece people of their money and other things will force us to introduce a tax so that churches pay tax on the money they get from people, the president further commented. Now, Rwandan authorities revealed that just by the end of last week, 8,000 churches were closed for operating illegally and not fulfilling infrastructural requirements. Now, speaking after presiding over the swearing-in ceremony of the reappointed Prime Minister, Eduardo Njirete, the new members of Parliament, Paul Kagame said he would go for more rogue preachers and their churches because the poor are targeted. If truth be told, according to the president, these mushrooming churches are just there to squeeze even the last penny from poor Rwandans, as those who own them enrich themselves instead, finalized the president. And now we focus our eyes on the forex market, courtesy of the central bank, to see how various currencies have been faring on the exchange. For those who are going to exchange some currencies this morning, by closing time yesterday, as of Monday 19th, the US dollar was buying at 3,718.77 shillings, while selling at 3,728.7. And then by closing time, the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,822.50 shillings, while selling at 4,835.47. The euro was buying at 4,109.24 shillings, while selling at 4,120.29 shillings. And the Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.83, while selling at 28.91 shillings. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.37 shillings, while selling at 1.38 shillings. As the South African rand was buying at 208.37 shillings, while selling at 208.93 shillings. Please do note that these particular updates come in 3 times every day. That is courtesy of the Central Bank. Chantal Oliver Kaninda is here with the traffic updates. Good morning.
Good morning once again, and thank you for staying with us. It's time for our traffic updates. Let's get you to town this morning. If you are coming from areas of Ntinda, we are at the Ntinda lights, and we are trying to make our way to town. If you are thinking of joining the Bukoto Ntinda Road, you'll be headed for no traffic, as you can see all the way, and you'll only be finding a bit of a hold up, especially after the junction that takes you to Ntinda 2 Road, and also as you are now joining the Chira Road. And if you're coming from Upper Naguru Road, you'll be finding slow movement and traffic because of that very same junction. But after that, you'll be finding no traffic at all. As you can see, you'll also be finding a bit of a hold up at the junction that goes to Bukoto Crescent. That is where there is traffic. After that, you'll be finding no traffic, and all the way. Now, usually the junction or the lights at St. Andrew's Church are mad with some traffic, but today there is nothing for you to worry about. You can go ahead and use this road if you are trying to make your way to town. Now, when you get to Chira Road Police Station, if you're joining Lugogo Bypass, you'll be finding no traffic. If you're continuing further onto Chira Road, you'll be finding no traffic at all. Old Chira Road as well, which is usually used as an access route, connects you through Kamocha and leads you back to the main Chira Road. You'll be finding no traffic. So in case you are using that side to get to office, then you are in luck this morning. There is no traffic at all. Now, I am trying to also get to Nakawa side. So on Ntinda Chisasi Road, there is no traffic at all, as you can see. And if you're joining Matters Way, there is no traffic as well. But also, if you are continuing on to Ntinda Road and trying to make your way to Nakawa side, you'll only be finding traffic at the factory close that leads you to the junction that has the Kampala Jinja Highway. And if you're coming from Chireka side, you'll be finding a bit of traffic right there, and that is simply because of the junction, usually known as the Spear Junction. And also, if you are continuing on to trying to connect to Nakawa side, you'll be finding bits of slow movement in the middle there, but usually nothing for you to worry about, as you can see. Now, if you're joining the new Port Bell Road, there is a bit of slow movement on there, but pretty much there is an easy way as you are making your way to town. Now, if you get to 4th Street, you'll be finding a bit of traffic. For you who is trying to join or even trying to get out of 4th Street to join the Kampala Jinja Highway, 3rd Street as well has a bit of slow movement. And now we get to 1st Street. 1st Street is mad with a lot of traffic, especially for you who is trying to join the Kampala Jinja Highway, trying now to connect to the Wampeo Clock Tower. Now, this morning, the Wampeo Clock Tower is mad with a lot of traffic, as you can see. If you're coming from Old Port Bay Road, joining the Wampeo Clock Tower, you'll be finding a lot of traffic. And if you're also exiting the Ginger Road lights, joining the Wampeo Clock Tower, you'll be finding a lot of traffic as well. Now, When you cross through Ginger Road, trying to get to Kampala Road, you'll be finding no traffic, and you are safe to move. The Winton Road is also safe. Yusufole Road has no traffic. Nile Avenue has no traffic, as you can see. Now, these are areas usually that people are taking to make their way to their offices. And Speak Road as well has no traffic. There is slow movement at Pilkington Road, and Loom Street in town now has no traffic. But if you are coming from Entebbe side, Entebbe Road has bits and parts of slow movement, hold-ups, and parts where the traffic lessens. And that is it for our traffic updates this morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Uganda, are you ready to kick things up to the next level? The Uganda National Lottery brings you Sports Take 10. Predict the results of 10 football games and win big. With tickets at only 500 shillings, join the fun and make your predictions count with Sports Take 10. Sports Take 10, your ticket to football glory.
Uganda National Lottery. Dream, play, win. Participants must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The Uganda National Lottery is operated by Ituba Uganda and regulated by the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
Amina gangende tubana kiranda Amina mu company Air Web Uganda Limited ndi member. Wemba member company eno weyeida twalinga tutuli bulungi ng'abakyala abe wakawaka. Abakyala abe wakawaka tuemera kubaami baife nga bonkana abajamu nandanga twidi nti abakyala tebakozesa ki nanda. UN Women weyeida yatuteekateeka yatwegesa okulunda engege ng'abakyala. Twatandika beno okudulunda n'okudirisa n'okola ki. Twafunamu ng'abakyala aba Bugiri district. Abakyala ba Bugiri district sofa tuli abakyala 14 abakola project eno eya web. Abakyala 14 twayawula mu sectors. Mulimu abakyala ba production, abaliisa, mwaba abakyala ba validation, abongera engege omutindo bayongerako omutindo. Twaba n'abakyala ba harvesting, aba harvestinga. Twaba n'abakyala abakola aba marketing. Sector donna diri trained. Era didi kyedikola ki? Kyedikola. Project eno tufunyemu ng'abakyala. Government yaife ne ya Uganda njebaza. Okujja kujanga batulingirira mu ng'abakyala abana Uganda. Eri kujanga eturobingira ebibiina bingi. We have UWeb, baleta Parish Development Model. We have Myoga. Byonna biri kwida muki mu bakyala oba mu bantu abaki aba Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Olive Monica Najuma. Now, this morning we head right over to Parliament. Over the last few months, we've had so many stories, headlines coming in through from Parliament of Uganda, where there has been a censure motion against 4 backbench commissioners in Parliament. But court last week ruled in favor of the commissioners. And of course, this was against the backdrop of the service award of 1.7 billion shillings that was shared among these commissioners, including the former leader of opposition in Parliament. Now, some Ugandans are happy that this was the ruling and others are not. And because of that, we decided to delve into this conversation. But I'll be having this conversation with one of the House, should I say, not one of the commissioners, but one of the members of Parliament, and that is Honorable Michael Timozigu, who is also the representative of Kajara County. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning to you. I am Michael Timozigu, Member of Parliament for Kajara County, and I welcome viewers. I thank you for hosting me. I thank UBC and Uganda at large, the government of Uganda which finances UBC. I thank really the arrangement. Before I go far, I want to reintroduce myself.
Yes.
Being a member of Parliament is good, but also I am here as a member of Parliamentary Forum on Ethics and Integrity.
Yes.
We usually have conferences at the end of the year to indicate to Ugandans that we are supposed to be ethical. Again, I am an anti-corruption crusader. Those who know me, I usually say corruption is a curse. And allow me repeat it, that corruption is a curse. Unless you know that corruption is a curse, you'll always kill your relatives, kill your friends through corruption without you knowing that you are killing them. So that is the person you are dealing with today.
Yes.
Michael Timozigu Kamchisha, Member of Parliament for Kajara County.
I like that you specifically mentioned that you're an anti-corruption crusader, because it's against the backdrop of corruption or corruption allegations and tendencies that we are having this conversation. Now, regarding the court ruling that ended up in the favor of the 4 backbench commissioners, tell us more about the ruling. What exactly is encompassed in this ruling?
The ruling is generally about acquitting members of Parliament, the backbench members of Parliament who are commissioners, because the person who took the case to court was a concerned citizen. And the ruling basically was acquitting those commissioners, indicating that what they did was their mandate. And I believe court used the Administration of Parliament Act. Section 6 of that act indicates that they have a mandate to budget for Parliament, to prepare a budget for Parliament. And they did. So court was not wrong to rule in their favor because they were budgeting for Parliament. And in this case, court was not aware that Parliament was not happy with the way they did their work. So when people hear of that, they say, now what do we do? Court is in favor of corruption. Court is not in favor of corruption. They were following the law. And there is no judge, there is no magistrate, there is no lawyer who will not follow the law. However, what they might not know is that we as Parliament, we follow our rules, we follow the Constitution, we follow the same act they used to rule in favor of commissioners. in that case, for us, we are supposed to censure any commissioner if we discover that they are doing their work. They are not, when we discover misconduct in the process of doing their work, we are supposed to censure them.
So
we had not censured them, so court had to rule in that way because we had not censured them.
Okay.
So they still believed that we had trust in them. Yes, so they were doing their work.
So help me clarify this. Court ruled in as regards the 1.7 billion,
yes.
but did not rule on whether or not they did their job right and whether or not Parliament was comfortable with the way they did their duties.
Yes. For them, their work is about clarifying the law. Because the law is made in Parliament, for them, they have to clarify the law. If you have a challenge, you bring it to court, they will have to use the law to make sure that you know what is going on. So what they did was to bring out what the law says. And the person, the concerned citizen, of course, even if he appeals, he might not find any difference. That's why we are coming in as Parliament. Of course, we were not with that person. That's why we are coming in as Parliament to use the same section and the Constitution that in case that person, in case a commissioner is doing his or her work with misconduct, or in case that person is weak and sick, he or she cannot do her work very well, then we come in and we stop the activities of that commissioner, either through censure, and that commissioner can also resign in case they discover that they are not strong enough to do their work. So when you hear that, you might think that we have a conflict. You might think that there is a conflict between the judiciary and Parliament, but it is not there. And it will be discovered, citizens will come to know that there is no conflict at all, because our job as members of Parliament, as far as indiscipline of commissioners is concerned, is to censure them, and censuring them, we are not judging them. For us, we are not judges. We don't need one person to say, I am judging in this way. We need members of Parliament to vote and say, really, these people did their work, did not do their work well. They misbehaved. And in case we have the numbers, those people will be censured.
Now, Honorable, before we even go further into the censure motion, because I would really like for us to expound more on that, but before we get into it, tell us more about where the members of Parliament, these 4 backbench commissioners, where did they go wrong?
Actually, where they went wrong, on 22nd May, it was in May 2022. Actually, it was on 6th May 2022.
Yes.
Long ago.
Yes.
They decided to give themselves an award which is not known anywhere in Parliament. Service award. Then they had to increase their monthly allowance up to 30 million each.
In addition to the 1.7 billion.
That 1.7 billion is actually that is the total of the service award.
Yes, for the 4
so
of them.
In addition to the service award, they had to also add a monthly allowance
of 30 million.
The other one was a one-off. Now you add their 30 million every month. Of course, they had their allowances around 4 point something, between 3 point. Of course, it was at 1 point 3.5. It kept on increasing, but now it is 30 million. Now, when you bring all that amount of money together, it indicates that those people had assumed that the economy of Uganda, because the allowance was increased by around 800%, indicating that the economy of Uganda is growing by around 800% or 500%. So that is selfishness. And actually, when you ask where did they go wrong, they became selfish. They failed to know that their mothers and fathers who sent them to school, and their voters who sent them to Kampala to represent them, and members of parliament who supported them to be commissioners. Why am I saying who supported them? We support them. We don't vote them. We are supposed to vote them, but we end up not voting them. So we supported them in their work. They forgot that they were misusing our funds. You know, when you are misusing funds which belong to your mother and father, who educated you, who do not have good roads, who do not have enough medicine, who do not have enough, who do not have good schools for their grandchildren, then I believe you are gathering a curse. So that's why they went wrong. They became selfish. And as a person, I believe they are gathering a curse. It's high time they repented and brought back the money and said enough is enough. We have to also join others and fight corruption.
Now, Honorable, when you say it's wrong, that is on the moral ground of things. But there are Ugandans out there who are of the view that members of parliament are only up in arms and against these 4 backbench commissioners because they didn't get to partake in the 1.7 or even the 30 million per month allowance, but have been quiet many times when their own salaries, when their tax exemptions have been going on. What would you say to such people?
They are right. They are right, first of all, and again, they are not well informed.
Okay. Let's talk about the part where they are not well informed.
Because I wouldn't say they are ignorant. That one is a strong word. For them, they are less informed. We did not inform them fully. It is actually, it is our mandate always inform them and tell them this is wrong, this is right. When time came and allowances of members of parliament were supposed to be taxed, I was not in support of taxing allowances. And the president did not know what it would result into until we explained to him. And the one who was leading us in explaining to him was the current minister, Honorable Henry Musasi.
What was this explanation?
He asked the president, if I'm going to Rwanda, for example, and my allowances for fuel have been taxed, which means if it has been 10 million, it is going to be 7 million. Will you be comfortable if I stop in Mbarara and come back? Because when you tax an allowance for fuel, it means you will not have enough fuel. And at the end of the day, you will not reach where you are going. If you tax an allowance for accommodation, it means that member of parliament has got to shift from the house they have been living in to a house which is cheaper, and you don't want them to live in such a house. If you cut fuel allowance for Kampala, running in Kampala, we get around 1.5 million every month to run in Kampala, going to ministries, agencies, going to parliament. So it means every day you have to spend 50,000 on fuel. If you decide to now tax that money, it means that that person, some of the days, he or she will not be able to run to allow to those ministries, agencies, or to parliament. So the president understood. So it is not members of parliament who refused that tax on the allowances. We just guided the president. The president was adamant, and he was really serious on that.
But, Honorable, let me paint a picture for you. a normal Ugandan like me, I earn a given amount of money, and I'm not given transport allowance. I know by virtue of being an MP, you're more important than I am. So with that position, it comes with certain emoluments. But still, if MPs say, oh, we cannot pay these taxes because we will be between a rock and a hard place, how about the people they represent that cannot afford these benefits, so to speak?
In that case,
are they thinking about them, or they're thinking about themselves?
In that case, allow me remind our viewers that a member of parliament is called honorable.
Yes.
So they are supposed to have the honor of catering for their voters. So you are not wrong. You are right that we should always think about our voters. But when you look at their work, it has no demarcations. It has no boundaries. You find a member of parliament when there is a problem in the village. The road has not been worked on by local governments or even central government. You have to come in, you hire a grader, or you go to the district, get a grader. Like my county is a sub-district. I have 108 kilometers of district roads. District roads in my county are, the kilometers are more than even the kilometers in some districts. So you find that members of parliament has more work than we expect them to do. That's where we find a challenge. Otherwise, I would be comfortable having a situation where all citizens, all workers, people working for government have enough allowances, have enough. Actually, we can't have enough salaries, but we can have enough allowances so that people are comfortable. So when you tell me that you don't have transport allowance, of course, I join you in pain, though I have nothing to do at the moment.
Yes.
But I believe if we keep fighting corruption, if this crusade goes on, we shall reach an extent where people working for government will all be happy, even when they don't have the same salaries, even when they don't have the same allowances. They know this is a member of parliament, this is chairman LC5, this is a cow, this is a permanent secretary, but they have their allowances, we also have our own allowances. At least we shall reach that level. But at the moment, where 20 trillion, between 10 to 20 trillion of Uganda's budget every year is stolen, we find it very difficult to save our brothers and sisters who do not have the same opportunity to get allowances.
Well, we are looking into a case that has had many Ugandans speaking in different tongues, and it's the case where 4 backbench commissioners of parliament were awarded up to a tune of 1.7 billion shillings. Among these is the former leader of opposition in parliament, Matthias Mpuga, who got 500 million shillings as his piece of the cake. Now, many Ugandans have been calling for him to return the money, and this has also culminated into a censure motion by Remiaga County Member of Parliament, Theodore Sechikubo, where he's been seeking for signatures so that they can have a censure motion. And actually, in updates, they are now pushing to see that this motion is on the order paper. But in recent updates, the court ruled in the favor of the 4 backbench commissioners, that is High Court. And in his ruling, Justice Singiza said that the 1.7 billion shillings had been part of the national budget that had been approved, so it was not illegal. However, the court ordered the Secretary to the Treasury to initiate disciplinary proceedings against Adolf Mwesige for his role in the decision-making and implementation process of these contested service awards. And I'm having this conversation with a member of parliament that says he is an anti-corruption crusader. Honorable Michael, I like where you're coming from, and I like that you've tried your best to clarify where the members of parliament that are against the service award are coming from. And maybe if you've just joined us, the member of parliament, the honorable here, says that yes, court found the 1.7 billion legal because it was approved and it was in the budget. However, them as members of parliament are still against the service award because they were not consulted. Am I right? It just happened, and also these commissioners got themselves an allowance of 30 million shillings per month in addition to other allowances they were already getting. Now, Honorable, many Ugandans, you are one of the few Ugandans that are lucky to earn well. Members of parliament in their entirety earn well compared to any ordinary Ugandan. And like you said, as honorables, there are certain perks that come with that position. So when it comes to a point where we are now seeing greed and parliament being embroiled in corruption tendencies, how does that make you, where does that leave you as a person who is against corruption?
Thank you so much. When it comes to corruption in parliament, people now believe that corruption in parliament has just come. It has been there.
It has been there.
I remember one time we were having sugar bill as a committee of trade, industry, tourism, trade and industry. A certain member from Busoga brought 5 million in corridors, said, this is yours, this is your share. I said, from where? He told me where it was coming from. I told him, my brother, I am paid by parliament. You don't pay me. That's when I knew corruption was really in parliament. I asked myself a question. So if he has given me this money and I've refused it, how many members have accepted it?
And then that brings us to the next question.
Yes.
Given how much members of parliament earn, and also given how many perks they enjoy, what are the contributing factors to this greed? Is it personal? Is it us, the electorate, that have failed the country because of the leaders that we choose? There has to be a gap somewhere.
For me, when you talk about greed, the way I look at it in parliament, actually, it is around 80% of members of parliament are not greedy. Because if you are a greedy person, it becomes difficult for you to join parliament. It means that you've been selfish and people don't like you at all, and you not get votes. So you have to make sure you steal the votes. So very few people make it to parliament after stealing votes.
That's right.
So most of them are really generous people, and they are not greedy. But when they reach parliament, there is a problem that has really crippled our politics.
What's that?
People buy votes. Before they join parliament, they are forced to buy votes. Their voters say, without giving us money, we are not going to give you votes. They tell them that there is no free vote in some counties, in some constituencies.
Yes.
They say there is no free vote. And when they say there is no free vote, members are forced to buy votes. Around 80% of them buy votes.
So the corruption in parliament starts way before members of
with
parliament
me,
come
the
to
voter.
parliament.
Yes, with me, the voter. So when I sell myself to vote John or Michael, then Michael reaches parliament and sells himself. That's how we sell ourselves. I'm not indicating that I've been selling myself, but it is there.
Okay.
You know, the truth is bitter, but again, it will always save us from all the dangers. Members of parliament buy votes. When they reach parliament, they sell themselves.
To make up for the money they
Yes,
spend.
because every weekend you must spend around 3 million. Some people, when they go to parties in Eastern Uganda, let me talk for them. In Eastern Uganda, they say when they go for parties or burials, You go with 100,000 for that burial, but on that burial you'll spend 2 million. So what you do, you send your PA to go there on your behalf until time for campaigns come.
Now you start showing up for yourself.
In southwestern Uganda, in some counties, you have to give a cow on a party. On a burial, if you don't spend more than 200,000, then they will not accept the money. For me, mine does not go, in most cases, it doesn't go beyond 50,000. At the beginning, they were asking me, why are you giving us little money? I explained for about 6 months until they understood, like after 1 year, and they knew I was spending a lot because I was spending 250 per day. And imagine if you are spending 200 on a burial, how much is it per day?
So
that would mean 1 million.
So Honorable, but you see, there are factors that contribute to this.
Yes.
The electorate, the constituencies, people are in dire need of financial help, of jobs, of many different things that make life easier. So probably that's why they look at their members of parliament as their saving grace. So you as a member of parliament and also your colleagues, what are you doing better to enrich your constituencies?
You see, when we look at the situation in our villages, people having no money. When you have no money, it means your money is being taken by someone every day. And that's why I have been telling my voters, if you find that your money is reducing, know that someone is taking it. And for you, you are not getting any money from him or her. You must have something to sell, whether a service or a good. If you don't have it, that means you are going to be poor day after day. It's like when you are drinking water. You go for a short call. You don't take in any more water. You see? And for like 5 days, you are going for a short call and you are not drinking any water. That means you'll be dehydrated. And I usually tell them that what is missing is not money. What is missing is work. When they get what to do, that's when they will get money. But when we say we are going to give them money as members of parliament, cash, whenever we meet them, we can never, that one cannot be sustainable. So I know there is a problem in Uganda. People don't have money. And when you look at the size of our GDP and you compare it with the population we have, then you'll know that Ugandans don't have money.
So now, Honorable, let's go back to the gist of the matter, and that is the service award. You say that as Parliament, you were not consulted, but then court says that the service award was actually approved by Parliament.
Yes.
That is contradictory.
Yes.
What would you say about that?
You see, where Uganda has been finding a problem and where some members have been confusing Ugandans is on that issue, that we passed a budget. And since we passed a budget, then we should never complain.
Didn't you know what you were passing? Did you observe?
How we work in Parliament. We have the commission which prepares budget for Parliament. And we trust those ones on their work. We have a committee on education. I'm giving you examples.
Yes.
We have a committee on agriculture. We have a committee on ICT. We trust each and every committee. That's why we are divided in two committees. Then we have the business committee, which is made up of all chairpersons of committees who sit together with the speaker. They have that business committee. So in Parliament, we are divided into committees. And those committees are made up of honorables. An honorable should never be a cheat. An honorable should never be a thief. An honorable should not conceal information. So the case they have, we trusted them as Parliament. We trusted them, the commissioners, and they concealed information. So when we bring all the budget pieces together, this is Ministry of Education, Trade, Agriculture, we take them to the budget committee. And the budget committee makes a summary. So in the House, the budget committee brings the summary. Like they can say, Parliament will take this much. Then they will break down a few things. They will not break down to the detail, to the small details people are thinking about. Because the budget committee believes that we trust all those committees, including commission. So those people who have been misguiding Ugandans that we don't read, even them, they don't read everything. Because the committees are many, our agencies are many, our ministries are many. So if you are on the trade committee, you read that one of the trade committee and analyze it very well. Because like trade committee has tourism, it has trade, industry, it has all those. So you expect a member of parliament to read that and then go to the Ministry of Agriculture, go to Parliament, go to this ministry and read all of them. Even if you will call a professor who reads 20 articles, scholarly articles a day, they will not read them because we have PhD holders, we have professors who are very good readers. They can't read all that much. Even no speaker will read all that.
So
Honorable
Michael, you're saying it was an oversight.
They betrayed us. They betrayed us because we trusted them. It was not even just an oversight. That's why we saw it recently. It was done in 2022. And we are lucky that members of parliament kept on digging out things, Maybe they looked at how commissioners were spending money and wondered, how do these people get money? So they started now researching. That's how we got to know it. Otherwise, we've been trusting committees of parliament. We've been trusting the commissioners. So they have lost our trust. Otherwise, they are supposed to do good work, and we trust them as honorables.
Well, we've been looking into the court's ruling when it comes to the service award between the 4 backbench commissioners in Parliament. Among them is the former leader of opposition in Parliament, Matthias Mpuga. I've been speaking to the Honorable Michael Timozigu, who is the Member of Parliament for Kajara County, which he calls a sub-district. Now, our time is fast spent, Honorable, but this is quite an interesting conversation. And my takeaway from all this, the IGG was right that we need a lifestyle audit. Yes. So maybe when we have one, then we will not be questioning these things, because we will know that so and so drives a Vanguard because that's what he can afford. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this show. And Honorable, thank you so much for sparing some time for us.
Thank you.
And I hope we can have more conversations on corruption right here on Good Morning Uganda.
By God's grace,
okay,
I'll still be alive.
All right, and you will be.
And I'm committed to fight corruption. For all of you viewers, the anti-corruption crusade is on. We don't need a budget. We don't need a secretariat. Just hate corruption with passion, and talk against it, condemn it, and you will be an anti-corruption crusader. We don't need an office. Just join me, and this crusade is international, because corruption is really disorganizing all nations. Of course, differently. Uganda, we are among the worst countries, but even the developed countries are facing corruption. So let's join the crusade, and God will reward us.
And all the believers against corruption said, amen. Well, my name is Olive Monica Najama. You've been watching the agenda segment on Good Morning Uganda, but Ruben Pima is coming up next with sports updates, and he has amazing guests that will talk the language of sport more than I could ever speak it. So stick around and enjoy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Junko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the Parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No,